When Jake Paul got up against iron, he finally faced his opponent. In the ring, Mike Tyson has been picking on retired older fighters, but when he agreed to face Mike Tyson, he went too far. He immediately blasted the left and fell in Mike Tyson's direction, and the referee gave him two wise directions. He was really nailing it with his right hand in the early going, so it's up to 5 and 6 going to make it. In dramatic manner, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Tyson was knocked out in the first few seconds of the first round. There was a lot of tension and excitement leading up to the battle between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, which ended at 2 minutes 32 seconds of the first round. YouTube celebrity turned boxer Jake Paul gained notoriety by facing a series of deliberately chosen opponents, many of whom were elderly and well past their prime. In the lead up to this fight, Paul's confidence was at an all-time high. He was certain that Mike Tyson, despite his legendary status, was just another retired fighter who could be added to his list of victories. His bold demeanor and relentless self-promotion had won him legions of fans, but they also made him one of the most divisive figures in boxing. Paul had managed to market himself as an up-and-coming fighter, but many in the boxing community saw him as someone making a mockery of the sport by picking his opponents. However, Mike Tyson, a name that is synonymous with respect and fear in the boxing world, was a man whose very presence in the ring commanded reverence. Even at the age of 58, Tyson was far from being just another washed-up former athlete. He had once ruled the heavyweight division with an iron fist, knocking out opponents with a ferocity that few could match. Despite his advanced age, Tyson was still in remarkable shape and carried with him the wealth of experience and knowledge that only a lifetime in the sport could provide. As the fight night drew near, the arena was packed with fans excited to see what was sure to be a spectacle. The two fighters' differences couldn't have been more noticeable. The stakes were high for both Paul, the youthful, brazen internet star, and Tyson, the seasoned veteran and former undisputed heavyweight champion. Many saw this as a moment of reckoning and an opportunity for Tyson to demonstrate that boxing's true greats are still relevant today. Above the new wave of celebrities head and shoulders, the atmosphere in the arena was electrifying as the bell rang to announce the start of the fight. Tyson and Paul warily circled one another, but it soon became clear that Paul was going to have a long night. Despite his advanced age, Tyson moved with the accuracy and intent of an experienced predator. In contrast, Paul appeared uncertain, his once strong confidence starting to wane under Tyson's constant criticism. Every time Paul threw a punch, Tyson either slipped it or countered with a devastating shot to the body. The crowd quickly realized that Paul was in trouble because the difference in skill and experience was so obvious. Paul tried to keep Tyson at bay with his jab, but it was obvious that he was out of his depth. Tyson's defense was rock solid, and his head movement made it nearly impossible for Paul to land anything meaningful. Tyson, seeing his vulnerability, increased the force of his blows, which were all accurate and powerful. Paul, having never faced a fighter of Tyson's caliber, was rapidly running out of options after landing with a thud that echoed throughout the arena. He attempted to trade blows with Tyson, but the older man's strength and accuracy were too much for him to handle, and Paul's face soon displayed the signs of the beating he was receiving. Halfway through the first round, Tyson set up a trap that would bring the fight to an explosive conclusion after he feinted to the body again after taking multiple powerful body shots, which caused Paul to drop his defenses. This was the opening Tyson had been waiting for with lightning speed. When Tyson unleashed a vicious right hand that struck Paul's chin flush, it was a beautiful shot that was delivered, with the kind of force that had initially made Tyson a legend. The impact was instantaneous and devastating. The crowd exploded in a mixture of horror and awe when Paul's knees failed him and he collapsed to the canvas in a heap. The referee swiftly intervened and waved the bout off without hesitation, so there was no need for a count. In the most ruthless and conclusive manner possible, Mike Tyson had just knocked out Jake Paul, leaving Paul unconscious and the bout over. The aftermath of the knockout revealed a sharp contrast between the two competitors. He had come into the battle with something to prove, and he did it in the most forceful way possible. Even at 58 years old, Tyson demonstrated that his strength and ability were still very much intact as he stood calmly over his fallen opponent. This wasn't simply a win for Tyson, it was a declaration and a reminder to the world that genuine boxing excellence doesn't fade with age. Jake, as he was assisted to his corner, Paul, on the other hand, was left feeling defeated and humble. The bluster and arrogance that had marked his ascent in the sport were nowhere to be seen. This was a harsh lesson for Paul, one that revealed the limits of his abilities and the perils of underestimating a fighter of Tyson's caliber. In weeks before the fight, Paul had talked a big game, dismissing Tyson as just another name on his hit list, but in the ring, all of that had been in vain as Tyson methodically dismantled Paul, revealing him as a fighter who, although gifted in his own right, was simply not on the same level as the true legends of the sport. In a time when celebrity boxing matches are becoming more frequent, Tyson's victory was a triumph for both himself and the sport of boxing overall. His knockout of Paul served as a potent reminder of what real boxing is all about. For those who feel that the sport should be about ability, power, and respect rather than just entertainment and show, excellence appears to have been a win for the purists. As the dust settled, the fight was being discussed as one of the most important events in recent boxing history. Tyson's performance was praised as a masterclass in the art of boxing, a display of power, precision, and experience that few could have predicted for Paul. Tyson had demonstrated that even in his late 50s, he was still a man to be reckoned with, a man who could humble even the most confident of opponents with a single punch. The defeat was a sobering experience that would probably influence his boxing career going forward. He had entered the fight thinking he could compete with a legend, but Tyson had taught him how different a real boxer grade was from a YouTube sensation. While celebrity bouts have surely drawn new fans to the sport, the bout also spurred a larger discussion about the state of boxing in the contemporary period. The fight between Mike Tyson and Jake was ultimately a reminder that boxing is a tough, unforgiving sport that demands skill, dedication, and most importantly, respect for the opponents who enter the ring. Tyson's knockout of Paul served as a reminder that there is a level of respect and seriousness that must be maintained. For Tyson, Paul marked a new chapter in his journey and will be regarded as a pivotal point in both of their careers. Legacy was a moment that solidified his place among the greatest and most feared heavyweights of all time. For Paul, it was a humble experience that revealed the boundaries of his skills and the perils of underestimating a true boxing legend. The picture of Paul unconscious on the canvas after being knocked out cold by a man almost twice his age will always serve as a reminder that there are no shortcuts to greatness in either life or boxing.